after that, of course, all attention on the tropics. We have Category 1 Hurricane Humberto and Invest 94L, which is, again, just a fancy word for saying future Imelda here, because we are looking at not just a high chance for a tropical depression, but a high chance for a tropical storm too. And again, the proximity to the southeast U.S. is the concern here, and the fact that it develops in the southeast Bahamas. Considering how close that is to the southeast U.S., we don't really get a good idea until an actual center forms on this storm, which right now, again, it's a little bit of a mess out there and it has to go across mountainous terrain. Once the center forms, once we get it to the north of the Greater Antilles, then we're going to have a lot better idea of where this could head. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple of different scenarios. Two that I'm really honing in on. Scenario one, the one we don't necessarily want to see. That's what we'll start out with. Here's Humberto. We have a ridge of high pressure to the north. This is kind of slowing Humberto down and sending it pretty much due west. Now, this is going into Saturday afternoon, so keep an eye on the time frame there. By then, future Imelda is actually a little bit further to the north and east than we would want to see. Why? Well, look at this ridge of high pressure here. Look at the winds that surround it. If it's a little bit further and closer to this ridge, well, then it's going to feel the influence of these winds right here, which actually carry it in the direction of this trough right here a lot faster than Humberto. So that means there's some distance between the two. It separates between Humberto and future Imelda. So that means as it gets closer to the southeast U.S., it then, instead of feeling this ridge, it actually feels this trough, this upper level low that's diving in, which unfortunately could potentially direct it into the Carolina coast, meaning that landfall and southeast U.S. impacts are on the table with this scenario. Here's the other scenario I'm tracking. This is, again, what we want to see. Essentially, this ends up emerging to the north of the mountainous terrain of the Greater Antilles, a little bit farther to the west. So that means it's a little bit farther away from this ridge, which puts it away from these winds that are directing it quicker to the north. So that means it's a slower Imelda, which means Humberto actually has some time to catch up. And as it does, well, it could send some wind shear on Imelda, weakening it a little bit as it moves off to the north and west. And additionally, it can influence Imelda. Look what happens with this scenario. It actually kind of captures Imelda just before landfall, and it can tug Imelda away from a landfall. But it is going to be a very close call if scenario 2 were to occur. So we are still watching this very closely. A lot of details to break down ahead, guys. We really need to stay on top of this living here in the Carolinas. So just another heads up that we really just have to sort a few things out over the next day. It's a good idea to make sure your hurricane plan is in place, though, and ready to activate just in case a storm does come our way. Of course, a big question mark on what happens once we get into early next week. But as far as the weekend forecast, showers and thunderstorms today into the weekend with rain chances, cooler temperatures, and we'll just have to see what happens in the tropics once we get closer to Monday and Tuesday.